What's up, folks? It's Dr. Reivew, and I'm coming at you once again from the X-Lair to contemplate an important question that needs to be addressed now that I just watched Wonder Woman. And that is this the turning point that the DCEU needed? Is this the moment where, like, the course has been shifted in the right direction, where we are all going to be on board for this DCEU and happy with this and the subsequent films to come? My answer is perhaps. I'm going to say perhaps. I'm going to remain a little skeptical. I did like Wonder Woman. I liked it. It was a good film. I feel the same way about it as I did about Captain America, the First Avenger, and the First Thor. After I saw those films, I was like, all right, cool. You know, origin stories, kind of by the numbers storytelling, you know, introduce the world that these characters come from, introduce a conflict, have the conflict play out, have them sort of become the hero that we know them to be via the process of resolving the conflict. And, you know, cool. You know, that's what happened in this film. That's what happened in those films. Those films set up the characters for me, made me excited for the Avengers. This film set up Wonder Woman for me, made me excited about the forthcoming Justice League. So it did what it needed to do. Again, it was a by the numbers kind of storytelling, which is not bad, and it was executed very well by Patty Jenkins, who, you know, is the first female director to be given a film of this scope, and so she did what she had to do with it, and she did a great job with it. She's a great director. She directed Monster years ago, but she's directed a lot of stuff on television, including Walking Dead episodes. She's been kind of a big part of The Walking Dead. I'd say she's a part of The Walking Dead success on television, because her voice has added to the quality of the show in a really good way. So, there's nothing wrong with the movie, which is awesome. You know, given what we've had so far, the theatrical kind of Batman v Superman, I think, is what caused all the initial uproar and potential fear of this DCEU going down the tubes. If you guys watch the what was it called? The Batman v Superman extended cut. I forget I think there's a special name for it. Anyway, if you watch that one, which had 30 minutes more in it, it's a better movie. And so if you watch that one, and if that's the one that we had watched in the theater, I don't think there would have been as much concern, because that one had cohesive storytelling. You know, it didn't feel choppy. It felt like smooth, like one thing flowed to the next. Things made sense. So it wasn't that movie wasn't bad, but obviously the theatrical cut was a bit of a concern. And then, of course, we got Suicide Squad, which was really good in terms of introducing a lot of really great characters, but obviously overall the film had a lot of problems. They very clearly had a direction they were going in, and then in the middle they decided to go a completely different direction and basically Frankenstein the film into something different. And the result was kind of like DC stew that's maybe been sitting there for a few days. Maybe it's edible, maybe it isn't. It tastes alright, but it could kill you, that kind of stew. I've got it on my shelf. I'm going to watch it again because I like certain aspects of it. Obviously the Joker and Harley Quinn stuff for me I love, because I love those characters. I love their dynamic. I love that Harley Quinn is in the cinematic universe, all that. But that movie was overall a disaster as far as like filmmaking, as far as storytelling, as far as, you know, kind of being a bad omen for what the DCEU could potentially continue bringing to us, which, you know, diehards like myself and a lot of you, I mean, we'll watch anything ultimately. Even though I never saw the Catwoman, I never saw like Halle Berry Catwoman, but we will watch most of these movies, even if the quality is not that great. But the general audiences won't, and if the general audiences don't, the films won't make money, and if they don't make money, they won't make any more of them. And so that's really ultimately the concern. So obviously there's been a lot of sort of speculation about whether or not Wonder Woman is going to kind of set the ship right, you know, put the DCEU in a direction that is at least bearable, if not successful, to the point where like it creates excitement and anticipation for the next film and maybe the rest of what the DCEU is to bring. And I think it did that. I think it did that, and I think it's a success at that, and I'm really happy about that. And I'm really excited to see Justice League in November now. So like that's my overall sort of feeling about it. I feel like it's a good sign of things to come. I'm still a little skeptical because of what's come before, but I feel like there's enough thought going into this process now, and it's very self-conscious that it will be nearly impossible for things to go wrong at this point. But you know, I'm still going to remain skeptical because of the failures that we've witnessed, or at least the shadow of failure that has been sort of looming over this entire cinematic universe. But yeah, okay, so things are good. So I guess I might spoil some stuff at this point. So if you haven't seen the movie, I would stop listening, but I may not. I don't know. I haven't really thought this out. A couple of things I did want to bring up. One is the logo at the beginning. So actually, even before the beginning, we saw the Justice League trailer, and the Justice League trailer made me more excited for the Justice League film. That's strange because I had already seen that trailer before, but for some reason, maybe because I was about to watch Wonder Woman, it made me appreciate what I was seeing a little bit more, and it made me a little bit more excited for the film. I got some goosebumps. I also recently watched Game of Thrones from season 1 through season 3, and so I saw Jason Momoa once again as Khal Drogo, and so maybe that kind of reminded me that he can do good things and not just be the guy from Baywatch. By the way, he was in the original Baywatch, which nobody seems to be mentioning, but he was in that, and he was just whatever. Anyway, and he was in that failed Conan movie. But I have faith in him because of Game of Thrones and because of what I'm seeing from Justice League. Anyway, so that got me excited. The one thing I wanted to point out first was the logo. There's a new DC logo, and it was very confident. It was like silhouettes of the characters, all of them, including Green Lantern. But they had Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg. So all the main ones that you expect. And then they threw in Green Lantern at the end, which is something we sort of expected, but not really. And then in like silhouette, you saw like all the characters in the DC universe, which was reminiscent of Justice League Unlimited, which were season 3 and 4 of the Justice League cartoon that aired in the 2000s, in which the scope of the team just became unlimited, meaning it included all possible characters in the DC universe. And so you saw all the silhouettes in the logo, and I thought that was really interesting because it showed great confidence in Warner Brothers and like what they're doing, and the fact that they are planning on expanding it to that scope, and they're serious about it, which is good because there's no way they should back off. Like they've got so much to work with. They can really make it work, and now that they have Joss Whedon in the mix, they're gonna make it work. Alright, so overall, like I said, by the numbers storytelling, action set pieces were fantastic. Anytime I saw Wonder Woman in action, it really was exciting and awesome to see. All of the Themyscira stuff was awesome. It was so good. So good. In fact, if the whole film took place on Themyscira, I would have been happy because I think that was the most interesting stuff. Like seeing this civilization of women, powerful women, just being dominant and being powerful. I think it's such an important thing for us to see that, but I think it's an important thing for us to see that as often as possible, and therefore that's why I thought it would have been cool to have seen like the whole film kind of play out in that context or with all of those characters. But all that stuff was awesome. Like, overall, the film played well. My fundamental problem with all of this has always been Gal Gadot. And, like, the film does, like, probably a better job than I could have ever expected to legitimize Gal as Wonder Woman. First things first, Gal Gadot is Israeli. She has a strong Israeli accent. That was always a concern to me because Wonder Woman just traditionally has never had an accent. It does make sense that she would have an accent and that she would be from an island where they would speak different languages or a variety of languages, it turns out. And so there would be an accent. And that does make sense to me. And so they really did a good job of sort of establishing that. And then everybody on the island had the accent too, which was super important. And it was so important for them to do that. And I'm glad they did it. It very much legitimized her and made her more real to me. Because the film starts out with like a voiceover and it's her talking and it's got the accent. And immediately I was like, Gal Gadot. Like, I immediately was not in the film. But as soon as we were taken into the Themyscira world and we saw all these women like that were similar, that were of the same culture, that were also like Wonder Woman in her mannerisms and the way she speaks, it normalized it for me, which is really good. I needed that. I really needed that. And plus, throughout the film, you have German people, you have all different people with different accents. So her accent was sort of buried in this world of this international world of characters, which I think was really great as well, to kind of, again, sort of further establish her as just being the Wonder Woman of this world within, you know, the context of her very specific culture that is, you know, reflected in her behavior, which is great. I think all of that is great. And I think Patty Jenkins did a great job of doing that. Gal Gadot has the presence of Wonder Woman. Like you probably saw photos of the premiere in which she was next to Linda Carter, who still looks amazing, by the way, years after she played Wonder Woman on television. And she's got the stature, she's got the build, she's got that Wonder Woman build. So whenever you see her in the costume fighting, it's like, that is Wonder Woman. And whenever you don't see her as Wonder Woman in any other context in the film, because of the stuff in the beginning, it was fine to me. And that was a big concern for me, and it turned out not to be a concern. So overall, like, all the things that like could have gone wrong were corrected in the way that it was all executed. This was a film that should have, I think, come out before Batman v Superman. Even though she was great in Batman v Superman, but I think her presence in Batman v Superman would have been so much more valued. Like, it would have felt more legitimate. Like, I don't know. Batman v Superman was very much like shoehorn the DCEU into the Man of Steel sequel, was very much that. And, you know, it's not the best way of sort of introducing us into this world of heroes and villains. But, I mean, whatever. You know, it happened. It's done. Now we're at this point. Now we're going to get Justice League. So, I think there's a course correction that has been executed here in a great way. And I'm positive about what's to come. I'm positive about the next steps. And I'm happy with the way this film turned out. And that's it. Like, that's really it. Like, I feel again, the same way I felt about Captain America, the First Avenger. It's like, yeah, it was cool. And, like, I enjoyed it. But, like, I enjoyed so much more within the context of it leading up to the Avengers. So now this I'm going to enjoy so much more within the context of it leading up to Justice League. It being the bridge between Batman v Superman and Justice League. Great. It works on that front. But most importantly, I think, and this is probably the most important thing that needs to be said, this is the first time we're getting like a female-led superhero film, and it's really important that it was done right. It's really important that we have movies like this so that women, girls, little girls growing up can see characters the way we saw Batman, the way we saw Superman when we were growing up as guys. you know, in the Richard Donner Superman films and the Tim Burton Batman films. Like, you know, girls, like, yeah, I'm sure they appreciate it, but they couldn't identify with the characters in the same way that we did, because obviously males, females, like, we have different lives ultimately in this world. And so now we have this that is going to be the first of ideally many more to come, films where women are taken seriously as powerful characters. They are the main characters. They are superheroes. They drive the action. They, you know, they capture our attention regardless of whether it's men or women watching it. It's just captivating to watch. But also, again, it provides kind of like that template for little girls to kind of look up to a female heroine and say, well, that's a tangible version of something I could be, you know, either literally or figuratively in some way. And I think that's so important that we have things like that. And I'm really happy that this film accomplished that. And I look forward to seeing the kind of effect that this film has on other films to come, and how that may reverberate throughout the culture in you know, the years to come, which is really exciting. Anyway, so overall, like the film, check it out. It's worth your time. It's worth your money. Thumbs up. Out of a 10, I'll give it an 8.5. I'll give it an 8.5. Cool film, enjoyable, fun to watch. I'll watch it again, definitely. I'll buy it on Blu-ray, you know, why not? Anyway, thanks for checking out my video. Thanks for checking out my YouTube channel, as always. If you haven't already subscribed, please do so. You can do so. I think it's right here, or it's right here. It's somewhere. The button's under me. Press it if you haven't already. Keep up with the other stuff I'll be posting. Every now and then I post stuff. You know, maybe I'll start editing stuff in the future if I have some more time. But for now, just kind of these free-form, uncut, kind of thought-episodes. Episodes full of thoughts is all I can really offer. Uncut, raw. Anyways, always, I'd like to remind you, if you haven't already, put an X in that box, because ain't nobody checking me. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.